it's kind of experience, because the first time you just take a decision with your guts, you might be like, oh, maybe it's wrong, but that's how I feel. I should take this decision. And after you take a few bad decisions, you become better at taking decision. And the more you go, and the more it becomes very like a second nature.
Sound of Startups podcast is hosted by Taj, produced by Amplitude Ventures, your partner in early stage startups.
Today, I have my new guest, like all the episodes, and she is special in a way that she had her own beautiful journey. She had her own startup before, and then she became a part of another startup. Maud, welcome to podcast.
Thank you so much.
This is Sound of Startups, and we essentially make things really easy for people to understand how the startups work in the music industry in general, but specifically in your case, how does it work in music industry? What do you do, Maud? Who are you?
So what I do now is to be the head of innovative project in a company called Zorba Group. And we have a special division that is called Lido XR, devoted to the music industry. We create visuals for live events, and those visuals are created in video game engine, so that it can be very adaptive and very free to create and to do a lot of kind of interactivity, super creative visuals that are, adaptive to any kind of venue. So that's what I do now.
Where do we need visuals and live events?
In many festivals, there are visuals that are always the last piece of the cake. They are thought about very late in the process. So you just see particles, or they're not really much in sync, or you create visuals and then the artist is touring and you need to readapt the content to every venue. And now there is a huge demand on immersive visuals, on visuals that really resonate with the sound, that are audio reactive and push the audience really with the electronic artist. It's especially valid in the electronic music scene, because just the DJ on stage is not like singing or performing, so they need more visuals to accompany their shows, and that's where we can help them solve the issue, right?
My question is then, how does it work, like whole thing? Like you just decide, the artist come and say, I want this visual, that's it? Or what is the process of creating?
So let's imagine there is a show of 1 hour. We talk with the artist. We try to understand what was their previous visual atmosphere, what they want to say, to have as an image. If it's a very dreamy artist, they would be like, oh, I have this whole image of me being in the space. So we design the space environment with 3D assets. And then the artists come and see if the world suits their imagination or their artistic director. And then we plug some of the elements of the environment live to their music for audio reactivity. So depending on the artist collaboration, sometimes the artist is very present with us because they want to have high control over their visuals. And sometimes they are more waiting for our proposal. They're like, oh, I'm not sure what I want. So we make several offers of different kind of stories, environments, timeline of 3D objects, story happening, and so on.
2 questions. Now, the follow-up to that, how do you deal with with the artists who say, I do not know what I want?
So our creative team, either it's very new artists and they don't have really a brand identity yet. So we try to understand from their music, from the energy, what could be fun for them. For example, I used to work with a very new artist. He didn't know what he wants at all, but he was a huge fan of video game. So we designed a room, like a teenager room, with tons of little toys, and then it was exploding to become a completely imaginary space and with a lot happening in there. And so this kind of artists, we just try to nourish ourselves from their music and come back to them being like, oh, we can have a more grounded option of something existing, or something more crazy, of an environment that doesn't exist at all. Are you more inspired by cartoons or by films? We try, to talk with them to catch the essence of their energy and imagination.
And how do you deal with the artists who say, I exactly know what I want?
We are in the balance between executing and needing to do some compromise, because most of the artists, if they know very well what they want, they don't know exactly how our building the world works, how our technology works. So we need to find compromises, but actually it's very good to be with artists who know what they want. I used to work with Jean-Michel Jarre, like a super famous electronic artist, and he was the kind of person who knew what he wants. So sometimes it was obligating my ex-team from my ex-startup to push the boundaries further. Even though something was not technically possible, we were trying to achieve and find that middle ground. So every artist collaboration is great. The only one that can be more tricky sometimes is when an artist is brought by a third party to do something with new technology, but that the artist is not appealed at all with new technology, is not liking it at all. It happened to me a few times, and that's more hard to negotiate.
Interesting. So you mentioned a word called your ex startup. What was your ex startup?
Room, VR Room, like VRROOM, was the name
Uh-huh.
of the startup. I was the head of the startup for 4 years. I mean, the COO, there were a CEO with me. And it crashed because of we got bankrupt. So at first we were building worlds in existing platforms. Then we started to build our own. So we raised 4 million euros to build our own platform. And those 4 million euros were worth to us to work a year and a half, almost 2 years on product. And we needed to fundraise again to go further. But there were like a crash of the hype around the metaverse. There were people financially taking too much time, public funding saying they would help us and they did not. So we had all those financial matters happening to us, and we were obliged to close the company. It was a bit more than a year ago.
And how big was the team? And how many customers you had?
At first, in 2020, we were 6 people, and last year when it crashed, we were 30 people. So we raised a lot, and we've been from having like 2-3 customers in the beginning to having more than 50 customers in the end. Like in total, we built 50 different projects.
You built a full blow-on business. You were no more a startup. You were a mid-size company. You were a mid-size company, and having 50 people was too big. How did that journey shape you as an entrepreneur?
Well, it shaped me on several levels, because when we started to do our own metaverse platform, it means we were competing with Meta and their Horizon world. We were competing with like super big companies, and building the software side of things, social media and all it required has taught me a lot. Working with so many artists has been very enriching. I liked that side a lot, like doing new kind of production, motion capture, and that was very fun. But as well, growing up that fast taught me to be more hard. It's weird, but at first I thought like, oh, I'm a nice person, I cannot be hard with people. But when you ruin a big business and more people, you need to take hard decisions, sometimes to fire some people, to make things rule. So at some point I felt, oh, I'm becoming a witch, but that was for the company, and it taught me to be harder, but for the good of the other people staying within the company, to have a great work together and go further. And it taught me a lot also about how network counts. I say this to everybody entering business today. The thing that helped me the most is network. So you have to go to small events, to meet people, to ask for friendship on LinkedIn, to follow podcasts, to try to get interested in what others do in your ecosystem, to connect with them, and this will bring you more and more potential clients, potential collaboration. So network is key as well.
How do you use to approach that situation? Like, how was it?
It depends on the type of work, but let's say like at some point when we built our own company, we started to hire sales people. And the sales, it's quite easy to say after a while, if they have no prospect, no strong hook, no numbers, obviously it's not the right person, after 6 months. So sometimes it happens a bit after. But those people sometimes at sales and marketing, they know how to trick you, right? To speak well, because it's their job. So first I was like, oh, maybe we should try them a bit longer. And then I was not tolerating this anymore. And for anything that is technical, like on the development team, there were 3D artists, developers, and the team was growing. And as it was growing, it was important to be talented, but as well to be a team player. Sometimes we hired very talented developers, but they did not know how to work with the team. So it was bad for the company to keep this type of people. So it's all a matter of talking with your team, understanding what's wrong, what's good, and making decisions with your feelings as well. I did a lot of decision making with my guts. Seems like it worked sometimes.
And do you think, you use the word gut, how do you get that gut feeling? Like, is there a process to it or just...
It's kind of experience, because the first time you just take a decision with your gut, you might be like, oh, maybe it's wrong, but that's how I feel, I should take this decision. And after you take a few bad decisions, you become better at taking decision, and the more you go and the more it becomes very like a second nature. I'm not overthinking, I'm just like, okay, I feel this is the way, so I'm just going to believe in myself. And my business partner at the time was the same. We were very much believing our feelings sometimes. Okay, I have no argument, but I feel this. Okay, go ahead. Sometimes. Because we don't have time. We are entrepreneurs. Everything goes very fast, and sometimes you just need to trust others. And
Yeah, that's quite fascinating. So, okay, let me ask you on the fundraising. You have raised like substantially decent amount from music and industry standards. How did that happen? Like, you from the day one, what is the journey from nothing in the bank account to 4 million raising?
so first thing was clients and shiny clients. So when we started to work with La Mostra of Venice, for example, that is a big cinema festival with Jean-Michel Jarre and so on, it brings this spotlight on our company. We started to raise small public money. In France, there is a lot of regional public money. So we were having our company in the south of France, in a region that wanted to be more dynamic in terms of digital and innovation. So we started to fundraise there, and the network we built in this region helped us a lot to go forward. I think we've been in public funding since until 1 million or so. And then we bring someone we knew who was a fundraiser, professional fundraiser. So my CEO and him were going to a lot of meetings with private investors and other kind of investor. But finally, we succeeded to fundraise 4 million only with public money and banking. No capital opening to investors. So we had 0 private investor in the company. And then when we tried to have private investor, it didn't work out later. But luckily, we have hired the guy who knew how to fundraise early enough. We kept some client money to pay him and do the job, because often those people fundraising don't do it for free, So
So basically you're saying your first million came from public money.
Yeah.
So just writing applications.
Yeah.
And was it tired? Was it tiring?
It was terrible, but luckily I was more on the project side of things, so was often helping to do those files on the technical side, but there was someone doing the rest of the work. So it was not like my main job personally. I was more like ruling the whole company while the CEO was doing all the fundraising thing.
Interesting. And then after first million, where you get the money from up to 3 million?
I think like it was the banks were the last piece of the cake. Like there were public money, and then we got equivalent, because the banks can give you some money if you have a certain amount at the same equivalent. If you have 2 million, they can bring you 2 million. So the 2 first million were public, the 3rd million public, and this million helped us raise 1 million from the banks. at the
So
end.
basically, all 3 billion out of the 4 million, 3 million came from the public money.
Yeah, from different region, different funding system. Yeah.
That was quite impressive.
Yeah, that was
Uh,
a
you-
huge amount of public money. I have to say it's quite rare in this sector.
yeah, that's what I'm wondering. I mean, that means, I mean, sometimes I believe convincing private equity is much easier. They look into your eyes, they believe in you, they give it to you. But public money needs a lot of documentation, a lot of hypothesis testing, a lot of questions, a lot of reasoning, and then obviously mood of the day of the man or woman who's supposed to move. So that proves the point that you had something which was really, really powerful. Because it's very difficult after $1 million or 1.5 to raise more public money. But if you've gone to 3, that means that means you had almost everything right. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
and
and obviously bank.
the French government is very active on wanting their own technical sovereignty. So they keep on doing call for projects that gives you few millions for the virtual sector, artificial intelligence sector, because they want to go away from dependency on American and Chinese solutions. I mean, they really tried to build that empire, and we were there at a spot where the metaverse had a spotlight, and we were the most solid solution to bring a new metaverse platform on the table. So they believed in us for that reason. So it's a
But
shame private investor did not follow up after that.
But why do you think that private invested in you?
The rentability was a bit slower than their needs. Like for now, most of the private investors are like, okay, I want to do a plus multiply by 10 in 5 years. And our project was a bit more long term. We needed like 2 more years just to develop the solution, then 1-2 more years to start to be stable financially, and then to gain a lot of money, because those type of platforms, they are huge to build and costly, and they did not understand that pretty well. They are used to the startup system, like, oh, you create an app with zero money and you raise so much. But our product was a lot of development, and it was expensive product to develop in the entertainment industry.
So what was your fundraising learning from this whole process?
Well, I think next time I would not go that far in the development. I would be more like slicing up the product development, saying, okay, let's have a milestone at 6 months, something we can show, even though we cannot sell and make money, and then stop for a while until we raise, I don't know, X money. Then we go for another 6 months, and so on. I think the CEO of the company was a bit too ambitious. He believed it would work, so he was not cautious enough with slicing down the development, maybe stopping for a while, taking back, because all the fundraising, it takes a lot of time. I was saying, people have time, you don't have this time, so you need to somehow pause your company or have clients do something else. I mean, pause the product development for a while to do a proper fundraising.
And interesting. So, but do you think you should
there
have
is another learning, by the way, I'm telling people. Because we wanted to build our service and our product within the same company. We kept the same name, we built our metaverse product, we grew up a lot. So when we closed the company, we closed everything. My learning from today is like, if you're a service company, you want to do a product, do a separated startup. Do another company with another company number. Like that, if it crashes for some reason, you can still bounce back on the service company.
Oh, like, this is pretty interesting. Explain this.
Okay, first, we were doing like building worlds in existing platform. We were like 10-ish, 15-ish people. And we were working with clients only. We did not need to build anything. After a while, building a lot of metaverses on a lot of platforms, we started to understand what was wrong. There were no ticketing system. It was not relevant for the music industry. There were not enough tools. So we're like, okay, we have to build our own metaverse platform. We have a really talented team. Like our CTO was a rock star. Many people from our team were super talented engineers and so on. So we built the product and we fundraised the money within the same company as which was called like the Room company. And when we started to raise the 4 millions with public money, you also have some layers of responsibility. You have to hire people on a certain level. And in France, it's not like in the US. You cannot hire someone and go away from them like 2 days after. You have to keep them. Like to get rid of someone you hired is very, very hard. And so we hired a lot of people because it was in the things we had to do with the public money. We went further, and the day we got bankrupt, we had to close everything because legally we had to close everything. So we could not go with a service company. We could not keep the name, keep the website. Like everything had to be closed and dead forever, let's say. So if you don't do that, if I was back in the time, I would have created another startup for the platform, build, make the fundraising, build the team and so on. And the day we got bankrupt, go back to service providing, like to build world in existing platform, do virtual worlds for other purposes, keep the name, keep all the work we have done in terms of marketing and all this, it's more clear.
It's simple. It's actually very sensible.
And that's why today I'm a bit like thinking the same within Zorba Group. We are doing a lot of tech, like we are using artificial intelligence, game engine. We are also working for the music industry. And the Lido XR is, we are building a bit of technology for our project, but we are a service company for the moment. And if one day we had to become a product company, because we have a product roadmap that we might do, this day I think it would be reasonable to build another company, with the Lido XR1, fundraise, do the product and so on, and not link it with the mother company.
So now coming back to Zorba. How does Zorba work? Zorba has a holding company and these are subsidiaries?
Yeah. So Zorba Group is a mother company that exists since 20 years. It's a creative agency doing videos, especially in the scientific sector. So we have scientists within the company doing 3D videos and so on. We have our own studio of 20 people working in Paris on all the 3D softwares, doing 3D most of the time for those agency work. But now we also have 3D artist and developer for the real-time video game engine, so that we can do also more interactive AR, VR visuals and so on. So we have the agency, the studio, we have a production company producing original IPs. So again, going for public funding and other partnership and co-production for our own IPs. And then we have Lido XR, that is the service dedicated to the music industry that I represent a bit more, where we create the visual for the artist for live entertainment.
What was that moment? It was like, now it's over.
So it's funny and not funny, but I was crushing on 2 projects. There were a concert with an American artist called Armani White, and I was holding the whole project, so I was crushing. And once Armani White was finished, I was crushing with the project with Jean-Michel Jarre at the Castle of Versailles in Paris. It was a hybrid concert for Christmas 2023. So right after, I had like few days for myself and family, and in January I come back and my business partner is telling me, okay, financially it's quite bad for the company. The bank said they would be fine normally to give us money until we get the subsidy we're supposed to have, which would be in 2 months, but we have to hold tight till then. And something like 1 month after, one of the 2 banks started to refuse to give us the money. So the other bank refused as well because they were linked. And that's where everything crashed. So it was super sudden and super brutal. There were no time to prepare. So January was like, oh, the company is going crap. And then February, ending of February, we were closing for real.
And once everything was finished, then when you sat down with yourselves, how was it that?
I was feeling quite terrible because I put it so much energy in the company and so much belief. And as I was also representing the company, publicly, it became part of my identity. So between the moment the company closed and the moment I've been hired by Zorba, there have been 1 year. And during this year, I move on because I was living in Barcelona. I move on to Paris. I tried to meet people, to talk, to understand like what could I do next. But it felt super weird because I was a strong metaverse evangelist and believer and all these virtual worlds for the music industry. I believe there is a future for it, but I don't have my company anymore to run this belief. So yeah, it was a bit complex. But when I've been approached by Zorba and then negotiating, I was happy they were this lead OXR part of the company, being still a continuity in this belief. Virtual worlds can leverage the music industry.
And when they approached you and they offered you a position, how was it? Was like, okay, I'm doing it, or am I made for that? Should I do, or should I start again?
No, I was very happy, but the process took some time because they were not 100% sure. Like at first, they're like, oh, maybe we could hire you. It would be great. I mean, I did. I met them like 4 times, and every time with 2 months of delay, 2 months of delay. And at the end, I got another job offer in Berlin, in an artistic company as well. And so I called back Zorba. I was like, okay, now if you don't do anything in 10 days, I end up in a job in Berlin. So either you hire me or you don't, So they ended up hiring me.
What do you think? What are the things you think is a piece of advice you would like to give to the people who want to become an entrepreneur?
Basically, what pushed me forward always was curiosity and not knowing how to do it. It helped me being very courageous. It's funny because I have a cousin who has done an entrepreneur school. He has built a company being very reasonable. It was a sport company with the water bikes and stuff. And he built this. He was knowing exactly what he was doing and he crashed. And at this, 2 years after, and at the same time, I was building my company without any background in building a company, and it worked better and longer because I guess I had passion for that. And I believe people who go from a passion to a solution rather than overthinking a solution for people or a sector that don't know maybe are more relevant. And there's a lot of entrepreneurs who are like, I'm just a serial entrepreneur, I'm just going to do numbers and maybe. But people who come from a sector and are becoming entrepreneurs, I believe, have also a chance to break through, even though it's harder because you learn all the entrepreneur thing when you are an entrepreneur. And if you don't learn fast, your company dies. So you have to learn very fast how to do communication, network, and so on. I think I would recommend anyone to try at least because to me, entrepreneurship has been the best school. No school is teaching you all of these. And no matter what you will do after, it brings you a lot of skills. You become a very skilled person after you have done entrepreneurship.
What a masterclass it has been. For me, it has been less been of a podcast, but more of a it has been more of a masterclass. I've learned so much from you, and I'm very happy that we have had you in the podcast. There are a lot of more people who are about to industry, who want to start things, who think they can do it. But when people hear like you, they think, oh, maybe I can also do it. So thank you so much for inspiring us.
Thank you so much for hosting me.
Obviously, with entrepreneurship, money is a key factor. There has to be money on the table. But there are many better ways to earn money via entrepreneurship. So thank you so much. Take care of yourself and hope to see you next week.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care.